Now, let's start with page number one, and then we have interesting news in the explained page as well. Okay. So Blinken meets Netanyahu, warns Israel, Hamas of last chance to end the war in Gaza. Now, you already know about what is happening in the Israel and Hamas issue, and US has been trying to broker this deal between these two countries unsuccessfully. So Israel is basically hell bent on the fact that complete destruction, political and military elimination of Hamas, whereas Hamas is saying that we want a ceasefire which is enduring, and which is everlasting, rather than a temporary ceasefire. And between all of that, what has also started is um, this thing. What has also started is your suicide bombings, which is also called as I think there is a term for this, infidaya. This is something that has started in Israel as well. So major issue happening in West Asia. Now, you should be aware about the entire West Asian map, folks. Each and every country should be clear to you from a prelims point of view. This is extremely important for you. Similarly, when it comes to West Asia and Middle East, you should also be aware of another war that has been going on. But folks, I just lost my internet connection. We were discussing another issue. There is another war that has been going on. You might not be aware about this, but Saudi Arabia has been at war with Yemen. It has bombed this particular country a lot because of what is called as Houthi rebels. So there has been another proxy war that has been going on, and it is being said that the MBS, who's the crown prince. So this is a kind of a monarchy system that is there. So MBS Mohammed bin Salman has had basically forged the signatures of his father, King Salman, and went to war against Yemen. And it was said that, see, when you go to war, you always say that we'll get this war in order in 2 months, 3 months, 15 days. But it has been years, and there have been number of lives which have been lost, and a humanitarian crisis that has now emerged from Yemen. So another issue, global issue that is happening. Then, as convention week begins, Democrats focus on party unity, and what we are seeing in all the polls that have been done, all the polls that all pollsters have now given a lead ahead to Kamala Harris as compared to Donald Trump. And there's another article on this with respect to this thing, your editorial pages. So we will talk about that. Then Supreme Court, if you want to read the Supreme Court hearing today, 16 external injuries and 9 internal injuries cause death by strangulation. The autopsy report of the RK Kar college, medical college, came out, and this is what they found. It's a horrendous crime that has happened. But the major issue is, which we are going to discuss on the editorial page, is that does that what should be the way forward, and how do we actually stop such instances. And there's another article which was written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta on the editorial, which says that this is just one of these cases that are reported, and it is because of class and caste bias that we see these cases. So why are these cases only reported from, say, metropolitans, or when we talk about the Delhi gang rape case, or whether this case, there are numerous such instances that happen every 5 minutes in India. On the same day, I think there's another rape case that was there, I think, in Himachal Pradesh, with a minor. So these rape cases are not new. These violence against women cases are not new. Every 5 minutes, the NCRB data talks about a horrendous case against women. But at the same point of time, what is extremely important is that the political the rape should not be seen as a political instrument, and as a politicizing instrument. So we were going to talk about that particular article, which tries to see that all these political parties should go beyond this political battering, and it does disservice to the person who has lost the life, that there is politicization over that particular person, and all of them should come over this political battering, and then have a consensus of how to tackle with with all the issues with respect to safety and security of women, and how to make the state a better place for females. So we are going to discuss that in the editorial page, but this is what the autopsy report has said. Then another emerging article that is coming is from the allies of BJP. The ND allies, basically LJP and JDU, have red flagged the lateral entry. We have already discussed the lateral entry yesterday. Now, if you remember, I talked to you with respect to the explain page, that people who are getting into the lateral entry, suppose I apply to the lateral entry, I have already come from the ranks and file of reservation. So when my recruitment happened, I fought with that reservation, in those reservation seats. There was general category, there was OBC, there was EWS, there was SC, there was ST. Within that, I fought for my general class seat, and then from that, I am going to, if I apply for the lateral entry, I'm already through that rank and file of the reservation. And similarly, anyone from the categories, anyone from OBC, SC, ST, EWS can apply to these lateral entries. Now, the other thing that I told you was the 13-point roster. The 13-point roster is that you divide the reservation by 100. So if you remember, I told you, if there's 27% reservation for OBCs, what happens is that you divide 100 by 27, and then the number that you get is this is how you're going to get every fourth seat as the OBC seat. So that is called as the 13-point roster. It's called 13 point because the reservation for STs is such that every 13th seat will be an ST seat. Now, which automatically means that if every particular department is seen as a unit, then first 3 seats of every department will go to a general category, and with that respect, as also there is going to be no reservation in lateral entry. Now, the NDA allies LGP and JDU, both of them have significant mass base, which is coming from the reserved category, and they believe in a lot of reservation based politics as well, and therefore they have shown apprehension. Whereas TDP, which is a very I would say technological and very it's one of my favorite parties, by the way, by Chandrababu Naidu, and he's a man who's ahead of his times in terms of politics, and they are in favor of bringing lateral entrance. And if you see, there have been a number of lateral entrants which have done a great service to the country. For example, Manmohan Singh ji, he was a lateral entrance. Your this thing, Montek Singh Ahluwalia was a lateral entrant. So lateral entry, what it does is it infuses a non-bureaucratic, a fresh view, an expertise view into governance, which helps the government in general. So you being preparing for civil services, you should have all pros and cons for lateral entrance as well. And then it should not be a revolving door policy. So read about what is this revolving door policy. That suppose you work for a bank and you become the joint secretary of the in the finance ministry, and you go on to become one of the additional secretaries, and then what you do is you make policies which are favorable to your bank or the banking sector, and then you turn back to the banking sector, and then be there. So this is called revolving door policy. Revolving door policy should not be there, and there should be something called as cooling off period. And you should also identify any conflict of interest when someone is entering the through the, especially through the private sector. If someone is entering in the lateral entry, there should be a lot of cooling off period, as well as there should also be this conflict of interest, as we have already seen in case of this Madhuri Boch, the SEBI chairperson. So Madhuri Puri Boch. So these are issues that needs to be seen. Then um, the prime minister, as I told you, this is something which is coming about. The honorable prime minister will be in Ukraine on August 23rd, and will hold talks with Zelensky, and they will try to find some kind of middle ground, because very recently he was also in Moscow, talking to Prime Minister to President Putin, as well as the fact that he will also be going to Poland, which has been where no Prime Minister has gone for the last 45 years. But this is going to be a significant moment in the Ukraine Russia conflict. Remember, when you are writing the answers, you have to write the official line. You cannot write the word war, because India does not ascribe this as a war. India writes this as a conflict. See, again, Delhi advocates for diplomacy and dialogue to resolve the conflict. Very, very important. Please, when you're writing international affairs, each particular word has a very different and specialized meaning. Never write word which is not ascribed by the Indian diplomacy. So read about this. Then all of this I've already covered. Yes, this one article that you need to cover. uh, Sexual abuse in the Kerala film industry, women threatened with ban report. Now, again, a very heart wrenching story that has emerged from Kerala. Now, what has happened is that 4 years ago, a prominent artist, a prominent movie star, was assaulted in a moving bus by the fellow actors, who are also very prominent actors. Now, what had happened was that there was this a lot of hue and cry, because there were a lot of people who saw this. There were a lot of witnesses, but because the actors involved were very high profile, the producers and everyone was very high profile. They formally or informally, they run a kind of a mafia of sorts. Think of in Bollywood, think of a mafia which is being led by Karan Johar and all these brands. So if you see the production houses, and even in Bollywood, there are two three major production houses. If you're against those production houses, then no one, you will not get work in Bollywood at all. So similarly, every particular film industry is running through these mafia of producers and production companies, and these actors and directors, and a lot of people who have come against, a lot of women who have come against these things, have been banned and have not been given adequate work. Now, this this is about, by the way, this can be a good example for your ethics as well as your essay. And this Justice Hema committee was formed in 2017. And even after finalizing the report, it took them 4.5 years to basically publish these reports, because of the pressure that this particular committee had faced. So if you see the report, which with the state government for the last 4.5 years, was released on Monday after several rounds of legal battles in the court, as well as the State Information Commission. So and what these issues are, so you can see these issues: sexual assault, sexual demands, which is called as couching, I think caste couching or couching caste. Then you have lack of basic facilities like toilets, threat of banned if they speak up, male dominance and pay disparity. All of these are issues which are faced not just by, we are not just facing them in the Kerala film industry. These are also issues which are also seen possibly in Bollywood as well. So something for you to ponder upon, something you can take out stuff for your other essays and ethics. Then now India's space. Another very good article, something which is important from the point of view of science and tech. Now, if you must be aware about India's all the the launch vehicles that India has. India has something called as PSLV, which I think they have renamed to something else. Please read about what they have renamed PSLV to. And this you have the GSLV, which basically launches the satellites to the geostationary orbit. The PSLV launches the satellite to polar satellite, the polar launch vehicles, which basically launch these satellite to the polar orbit. Then you have something called as the new satellite launch vehicle, which is called as SSLV, which is small satellite launch vehicles. Now this is a launch vehicle which can have a payload of up to 500 kgs. Now this is very important because before this what used to happen is, if you have a PSLV, so suppose think of it as a big truck. Now you will not suppose you have to say send a food parcel to your flatmate, or your mother is in this one part of the city, and you are in the other part of the city, and your mother has to send you a food parcel. She will not hire a truck and then send that truck, and in that truck just a food parcel will not be sent. So this is where the problem was, because the payload of PSLV used to be very high. It all the if you made a satellite, suppose you made a satellite for weather calculation, you have made a satellite for internet of things, you have made a satellite for, say, predicting ocean currents and predicting rainfall, or you are in the private sector, you are working with some AI application, or you're working for some sixth generation internet application. Now you have to wait for all the others to come together, so that once all of them are together, then only you will get on your seat onto the piggy. You'll use them as your piggy bank, and then you will basically, not a piggy bank, but basically you will have to wait for all others to come. Once you have sufficient amount of weight available, then only PSLV will be launched. Now what has happened is, now think of this as your say this thing, your Swiggy Genie, or your Zomato, or Zepto. Even the smallest and the smallest of orders can now be delivered. Similarly, this is what has happened with in case of SSLV. Now they have the ability to launch. Now we have the ability to launch small satellites weighing up to, so for example, this satellite that we have launched is only 120 ton rocket. Now you can launch 500 kgs, up to 500 kgs payload can be launched. And with this, what happens is that the private sector will now be encouraged, because they know that once their satellite is ready, once their payload is ready, they can just hire these small launch vehicles, and then send it for whatever use, whether it's weather forecasting, communication, defense, urban planning, disaster management, whatever is the case. And this is what is happening in US, in EU. And if you see, you research about a company called as Starlink, and how Starlink has basically monopolized this entire region of private satellites in the world. If you see, 70% of the private satellites in the world are basically by Starlink. Now, what has also happened is that China is also starting to compete in this particular region, and now we want our private companies to basically get into this region, and therefore we have opened the private sector to this. In fact, there are a number of startups that we have helped. There's Skyroot from Hyderabad, there's Chennai based Agnikul, which is helping, which is being helped by ISRO, and ISRO has also helped them have their own launch pad within the Harikota, Sri Harikota, this thing range. And we need to take the developmental challenge here, because ISRO alone cannot make all the developmental challenge. All these diverse objectives of the social objectives of the government can be taken care of by the private sector, and for which we need the assistance of the private sector, even in space. So we have opened the private sector to the space sector to the private sector. Then Kamala's convention. Now, as I told you, that Kamala Harris has now narrowed the gap against Trump, and she has to follow. She has to basically come up with her own kind of policies for as a presidential candidate. And there is this Democrats the Democrats convention that is going to happen, whereby all Democrats are going to sign off with Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate. And she has certain advantages. She comes from a tech background in the sense that she's the senator from California, which is the richest and the politically most significant state. But apart from the fact that she's also in terms of pollsters, they're saying that in the swing states are those states which can go Republican or they can go Democrat. So it's very important. It's say something like UP. If UP votes for a particular party, you will see that the prime minister will be from that particular party. Similarly, think of there are a number of states in US which are these kind of swing states, and all of these swing states, Kamala Harris has started doing well, but she needs to have a nuanced policy, especially with respect to the Gaza question, and how does she respond to the Gaza war, and how will she will resolve it. Then another article that I want you to see is where rivals can come together. Now this is an example, folks, where you're just writing random stuff in your essay, and if there is a point for cooperation, that how cooperation can happen, you can give this example, and this will show the breadth of your answer, that how widely can you think when you're writing an answer. Now this is an example where two football teams which are absolutely against each other, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. Think of India and Pakistan, which are very acrimonious footballing culture. And there was a Durand Cup that was happening, which got cancelled because of security concerns, and both the players from both the clubs and fans from both the clubs came together and then protested against the RG Kar Medical College doctor rape case. So this is something that has happened. And by the way, the background of Mohun Bagan is similar to that of Lagan. That Mohun Bagan claim to fame was that when they defeated East Yorkshire Regiment in one of the cups, and then one of the breakaway factions of Mohun Bagan was East Bengal Club in 1920. So you can read this. And then another example, what does coming together signifies: the power of the collective to demand accountability, and the confidence that no difference is unbridgeable if there is a bigger fight to be fought. And there are lessons to be learned for who consider protest to be exclusive. For example, the residents of Hiranandani Gardens, who basically turned away the Bahujan women from Jai Bhim Nagar slums during the Reclaim the Night protest in Powai. These residents of Hiranandani Gardens had basically turned away these women and said that no, only we will fight for this justice. You cannot join us for this justice. So another good example for you to read, that this is not exclusive. Fight for justice cannot be exclusive. Then steady in the storm. Now this particular article basically talks about India's nuclear deterrence policy. Now India's nuclear deterrence policy, which was operationalized in 2003, had certain few nuances. Now one of the nuance was that we will have credible deterrence, but at the same point of time we will not we will not have a first use case. We will have a credible second order deterrence. But at the same point of time, the question that is being asked is that should India do away with the deterrence, or have a new deterrence policy, or even incorporate a first use policy? Because the fact that China and both Pakistan have had a very aggressive approach towards their nuclear weapons, and then they're targeting more precise weapons, and the number of weapons that we are creating are much more. At the same point of time, what needs to be done is that we need to counter the adversary's technological advantage. We need to work on technological advantage for higher accurate delivery. Then we need to counter the ability to basically work with cyber attacks, and neutralize all the AI retaliatory capabilities that they have. So this is something that we need to target, rather than changing our own strategy. And working on that, because right now the basic attributes of the doctrine are still valid, and we have a credible second use case. And there is no end to it. If there you can apply a game theory to this, there is no end to collection of nuclear weapons. What all that you need is, you should have tactical nuclear weapons, and you should and you the enemy should know that you have a deterrence, and you have a deterrence which is credible, which is a secret and which is a credible, and that is all that is needed. So the calmness of India's doctrine is a virtue amidst today's nuclear cacophony. Another beautiful line to end, that what we have is enough. We do not need to worry about more. Now this is the article that I was telling you, the after the crime indignity, where what has happened is that you have a politicization of rape. What we are seeing is brick batters being exchanged between the BJP and the TMC over this poor woman, over this poor woman's corpse. And it also says that once you are in power, then you have different kind of say. So we discussed the issues of Delhi and Kolkata, whereas there have been so many issues where there are party members from the BJP which are also involved. For example, the Hathras rape case, or the Unnao, or Kathua. So there have been a number of cases. Now only because there is a caste and class privilege which is available to those in Delhi and in Kolkata. These cases are being heard on priority. There are a number of millions of such cases which are never heard, which are never reported. So the other thing is that the second point of the focus, whenever such thing is reported, is that we demand for new laws. So for example, we had the Nirbhaya law, and this time we have the laws for women's safety, health workers. But does having more laws help you? No. You can have the best of laws, but if there's no implementation, there's no force oversight over these, the best of laws will not work. So this is something that needs to be done. Then apart from that, I told you that there is a lot of politicization that is happening between all these parties, and all that is required right now is that all these parties should at least have the grammar of empathy, and all these parties should feel the moral outrage, and together, and then they should have the shared objective to seek justice, rather than brick batting between all of them. So read about this article, it gives you a good perspective. Then I'm directly moving, because of paucity of time, I'm directly moving to the explain page, folks. You can read these two articles, the code that unifies, as well as where are our political thinkers. Then why selection of 69,000 assistant teachers in UP will take place afresh. Now again, the issue with respect to this was that the reservation policy for OBCs was not followed properly. The cutoff marks for reservations were not given, and therefore the High Court of Allahabad, the High Court of Allahabad has basically said that you need to conduct all these this thing again. But think of the plight of people who have been working for the last 5 years, thinking that they have already been selected, and now you have to again appear for an entrance exam and then clear this entrance exam. I am bearing the wrath of all of this again, because I have my own entrance for PhD coming on the 28th, and which by the way got leaked. So you will not have classes on the 27th and the 28th, folks. Then Hayflick limit, again a beautiful thing, which basically talks about that every cell in our body basically has the ability of how many times it will basically divide. So typically a human cell will divide will stop to divide after 40 to 60 times. Now that is called as the Hayflick limit, and it is said that a typical human body as an instrument can basically withstand around 125 years. But because of external things like diet, disease, and solar radiation, there is the expanse reduces, and what happens is, because in our body there are a number of cells that accumulate which cannot limit, which cannot divide. You have something called as this ultimate Hayflick limit, where wherein the cellular clock of the body starts ticking. And then you have this senescensing, which basically means the accumulation of cells which cannot divide. And once that division is very high, then in that case the person dies. And but this is different for say turtles, which can, for them the cells can divide 110 times, then as compared to mice, for which the cells can divide only 15 times. But related to this is also something called as telomeres. Now telomeres are what at the end of each DNA strand you have telomeres, and once a particular cell divides, the length of the telomere is shortened. So think of this as, if you've seen your shoelaces, at the end of shoelaces there is this wrapping that is there, and the more that you use your shoes, the shoelace flares. So think of that end of that shoelace as the telomere. The more that you use your your shoes, the laces will flare. Similarly, you have flaring of and reduction of this telomere length. And it is said that the more you age, what happens is that the telomeres, as they start reducing, there is aging. But there is no relation between aging and in that respect and death. But at the same point of time, there have been studies, and I keep telling you, if you push your brain to work, to learn more, if you the neuroplasticity, and if you exercise, and if you have a better diet, then you can actually reduce the telomere reduction. So you will not age as easily as others. And the best example is, if you see the age of the Honorable Chief Justice of India, he doesn't look like 65. He's going to turn 65, and he looks like around 50 years. It's because, just read about his healthy regime, what kind of diet he follows, and what kind of daily routine he follows. So you can probably learn from that. Then there is another article, which is, could Hasina be extradited? Now this particular article says that Sheikh Hasina, there have already been a extradition treaty between India and Bangladesh, under which a number of people have been extradited. And this was amended in 2016, and it basically says that anyone who's basically in any kind of offense committed in either of the countries, the other country can basically ask for extradition. But at the same point of time, there are enough rules set in those articles, whereby the extradition can also be rejected by the country. So this article talks about that. You can read this. And not lastly, the US antitrust ruling against Google, and important lessons for India. Now we have already heard about what this court in US has talked about in with respect to Google, and then the same has now been incorporated. Now we are incorporating a similar thing in India under the Digital Competition Act, whereby we are trying to make the companies lesser of a monopoly, and then open the space, and not letting them abuse their dominance, which is very apparently there when it comes to tech giants. So read about this article. And finally, this is the article that I want all of you from economics optional to read, because see, remember in the last class we talked about something called as wage price spiral. Now the concern here is that the monetary policy has said that if the food prices, now food prices might not be directly impacted by what the RBI does, but if the food prices are impacted, and if they are not checked, if the monetary policy does not check the food prices, what happens is that they spill over to the output prices. So they lead to output prices, and these output prices will then lead to higher wages, and this will cause a wage price spiral, and that spiral will go out of hand. Therefore, the monetary policy must be disinflationary to quell these. Now you should note the word disinflationary, because I had explained it to you in the class as well. Now the monetary policy must be disinflationary to quell these price pressures in order to achieve the mandate of price stability. So read about this particular article and why the RBI is still not changing the repo rate and reducing the repo rate despite the inflation going down. The RBI feels that the large part of inflation is still driven by food inflation, and because the food commodities are inelastic, because there are inelastic demand for food commodities. If there is food inflation, I mean, people will not start to reduce their consumption of food, and therefore it will lead to an entrenched inflation. If it leads to an entrenched inflation, the headline inflation will peak. Therefore there is a huge focus on reduction of inflation. Then dual use of goods, US alerts Indian companies on export of defense tech to Russia. Again, something that you need to read. We have already read the fact that the credit creation is much more in the country as compared to the deposits, and thereby the FM has met the head of PSBs and asked the banks to launch special drives to mobilize deposits, because the deposit or the CASA growth has not been that great. So you can read about it, and if you want to read this particular article with respect to pronounced income gap as evident in the stigmatized caste business owners, you can read this. So this is about for from my side, folks. We've been a little late today. Let's meet tomorrow with respect to our current affairs. We'll start at 5:30 tomorrow, folks. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.